Fresh off his Ring of Honor World Championship defeat at Dynasty, Chris Jericho says he thinks it's best that he leave after berating the learning tree on Dynamite. Swerve Strickland's match against PAC is cut short after PAC suffers a legitimate injury last night. Kenny Omega confronts the Young Bucks after their return at Dynasty. AEW announces that Cope is out indefinitely after being attacked by FTR at Dynasty. Samoa Joe says the Ops are challenging the Death Riders for the AEW World Trios Championships. Chris Statlander advances in the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament. The new name for Adam Cole, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly is revealed on Dynamite. Don Callis says the Don Callis family is recruiting new members. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Gunther reveals he signed a new contract with WWE. John Cena is announced for the final episode of SmackDown before WrestleMania. The WWE Hall of Fame Legacy inductees are announced for this year's Hall of Fame class of 2025. Several matches have been confirmed for next week's edition of AEW Dynamite, the special Spring Breakthrough edition, as well as AEW Collision this Saturday. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with Chris Jericho, who was unhinged last night on AEW Dynamite, dropping an F-bomb and everything on TBS. Chris Jericho lost his temper with the Learning Trees, Bad Apple, Brian Keith, and Big Bill following the stable's losses at AEW Dynasty on Sunday, and the former Ring of Honor World Champion stormed out of Dynamite after destroying the set of TV time. Jericho started off the segment in the ring by himself and congratulated Bandito for getting the victory over him at Dynasty after weeks of feuding. He then called out Big Bill and Keith, who lost their attempt to capture the AEW World Tag Team Championships from the Hurt Syndicate at the pay-per-view. He said he'd hoped they'd become champions, but before they could go on, Bill interrupted him and said he'd been getting angry lately and wouldn't stand for being Jericho's punching bag when things went wrong. Bill said Keith felt the same way. Jericho said that Bill wasn't there for him when he lost the Ring of Honor Championship, but said he wasn't angry, just disappointed. He took his frustration out on the TV screen in the ring with the baseball bat, all while repeating once again that he was disappointed. He once again dropped an F-bomb in the process. Jericho said that until Bill and Keith make a change, it was best if he left. He left the ring, and after a commercial break, he was shown storming off through the backstage area before he got in a car and drove off. We'll let you know if we get any more details on where this storyline is going. Now, Swerve Strickland, he had a match with one member of the Death Riders last night, but it was cut short after PAC sustained a legitimate ankle injury in his match with the former AEW World Champion. This week's show started with a match between Jon Moxley and Kazuchika Shibata, with Moxley winning and the Young Bucks, who returned at Dynasty to help Moxley retain the world title over Strickland, making their way out. The Bucks cut a promo explaining their actions that would soon be interrupted by Kenny Omega, then Kazuchika Okada. We'll talk about that later on. But Strickland was then ambushed by behind from PAC after he came out to even the odds, kick-starting their match with an advantage. Strickland, though, quickly took control of the bout, however, throwing PAC into the barricades at ringside and then returning in the ring to land a buckle bomb. Now, it was here that PAC rolled outside, with the ringside doctor coming in to look at his ankle. PAC would finish the match rolling back into the ring after being checked and hobbling on one leg as Strickland hit a super kick. Strickland then followed up with the Swerve Stomp, securing the winning pinfall as PAC swiftly disappeared from the ringside area. Commentary immediately noted after the result that an injury had occurred as well, wishing PAC well in his recovery. Strickland walked up the ramp after his victory, addressing the Young Bucks attack at him at Dynasty to the camera before taking his leave. If we get any more details on the severity of the injury, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, we spoke about the Young Bucks there. They explained their actions at AEW Dynasty this weekend. The fallout from Dynasty was felt on Dynamite on Wednesday, following World Champion Jon Moxley's victory over Shibata in the opening match of the show. After the match, the Young Bucks, who returned to Dynasty to take up Moxley's pay-per-view opponent Swerve Strickland, came out to let the crowd know what was on their minds. The pair exchanged brief words with Moxley before he and Marina Shafir left the ring. Nick Jackson said that Hangman Adam Page was welcome for them taking out Strickland and said this was what they wanted all along. He said they don't forget their friends and said they still loved Page. Matthew Jackson said he thinks they have more in common with Moxley's Death Riders than they initially realised. They've been watching him from home. He asked the crowd if they could imagine the synergy between the Death Riders and the Bucks if they worked together as one. He asked Moxley to come back out with his stable to discuss business, but it was Omega's music who hit instead. Omega questioned if the Bucks really did everything for their friends because they forgot him. He mentioned the last time they met face-to-face, the Bucks took him out at the height of his diverticulitis battle. Omega said he came back to AEW for his own legacy, not for revenge, and it wasn't the Death Riders who killed the company, it was the Young Bucks. He got in the ring to start a fight, but Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada's music hit, and he came out only for Swerve Strickland's music to play. Strickland came up from behind with a chair and ran off the heels and gave a fist bump to Omega before addressing the EVPs, telling them it was buck hunting season. Now, let's talk about Cope and his injury suffered at the hands of FTR this past Sunday at AEW Dynasty. Cope is out indefinitely after being stretchered out of the arena at Dynasty on Sunday. Excalibur gave an update on Cope's status on AEW Dynamite. FTR attacked Cope after they failed to win the AEW World Trios Championships from the Death Riders at Dynasty. They laid out Cope with a shatter machine, a spike pile driver, and the concerto. Tony Schiavone said he was not pleased with FTR's action. Of course, if we get any more details on when we can expect the Rated R Superstar to return, we'll let you know in a future video. Samoa Joe, the Ops, they're after the World Trios Championships. That's according to Samoa Joe, who at the end of AEW Dynamite challenged the Death Riders and said he and his fellow Ops were coming for the belts. Samoa Joe and Hook defeated the two of the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli, which led to the villainous team attacking the Ops after the match. Castagnoli even performed a neutralizer to Katsuyori Shibata on the bottom part of a steel chair. The attack was enough to warrant Joe issuing a challenge and a warning. Joe used his twisted metal voice and everything. Chris Statlander, she has advanced to the next round in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. The 2025 Owen Hart Foundation tournament continued on the April 9th episode of AEW Dynamite with another match in the women's bracket between Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander. Both women have had their eyes on timeless Toni Storm and the AEW Women's World Championship for many months, but it was Statlander who advanced to the semi-finals, or while the champion sat at the commentary desk. Both women had bright moments in the opening stages, with Rosa getting the better of the exchanges with her strikes. Rosa took the action to the floor while Statlander tried to gather her bearings, landing a big meteora on the floor as the action went into the commercial break. Rosa had the majority of the control during the break, even chopping Statlander right in front of Storm, telling the champion she wants her title. After returning to the ring, Statlander got back in the match, grounding Rosa with holds as the commercial break came to an end. Once the commercials ended, both women had an even strike exchange, with Rosa getting the better of it, hitting a Hurricane Rana off the second rope and a Northern Light suplex for a near fall. Rosa tried to continue her momentum, but Statlander used it to her own advantage as she landed a Blue Thunder bomb for another 2 count. Statlander's lost control momentarily when Rosa landed a thrust kick and a Canadian Destroyer for another near fall and quickly followed that up with yet another 2 count. However, the match came to an end when Statlander got up to her feet to hit a big lariat to Rosa before hitting the Saturday Night Fever for the victory. Statlander will now face the winner of the match between Jamie Hayter and Billy Starks, which takes place Saturday on AEW Collision in the semi-finals. And given that Storm gave Statlander a standing ovation on the commentary table after the match was over, the former AEW TBS champion is sure to be a force to be reckoned with as the tournament plays out. Now, a new name for a faction in All Elite Wrestling. The Paragon is here. Following his TNT Championship victory at AEW Dynasty, Adam Cole spoke in a backstage promo with Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong on AEW Dynamite. After declaring the start of a new era in AEW, Adam Cole proceeded to reveal that the trio is shedding the Undisputed Kingdom name in favor of their new name, the Paragon. Now, AEW filed to trademark the term Paragon back in January 2022, so it looks like they've had this name under wraps for quite some time. The Don Callis family could be expanding in the near future. Brian Cage and Mark Davis, of course, are both sidelined. Don Callis appeared on the April 9th episode of AEW Dynamite to confirm the Don Callis family is not healthy and it's been hit with a rash of injuries. Only Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher were behind Callis, with Lance Archer, Brian Cage and Mark Davis all absent. Callis said that Don Callis family is accepting new members and they could look at Fletcher and Takeshita as examples of Callis taking them straight to the top. Now, going over to WWE, and Gunther has signed a brand new WWE contract. World Heavyweight Champion Gunther is heading into WrestleMania 41 with 249 days as champion, and win, lose or draw, Gunther is set to be with WWE for the foreseeable future. Gunther confirmed that he signed a new contract at the end of 2024 and was not looking elsewhere. Quote, "I'm set where I am," Gunther told Ariel Helwani. "Since I signed in 2019, I've been champion like 85-90% of the time, so obviously they always saw me a certain way and gave me that trust, and I enjoyed it." The former NXT UK champion said he gets the most satisfaction from jobs like professional wrestling, where he's allowed to step up and make something on the show, even the smallest part of it need be work. Since his 2019 signing, Gunther has broken the record for the longest WWE NXT UK title reign, as well as the longest reign as WWE Intercontinental Champion. The latter record had previously stood for over 30 years. The 2024 Men's King of the Ring tournament winner won the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam last year, dethroning Damian Priest with some help from Finn Balor. As it stands, Gunther is just 67 days shy of breaking the record of Seth Rollins, who was the longest reigning World Heavyweight Champion in the title's short history at 316 days. Should he defeat 2025 Men's Royal Rumble winner Jey Uso at WrestleMania 41 and break the record, Gunther would have set all records for all three titles that he's held in WWE. Now, some big news when it comes to John Cena and his road to WrestleMania 41. Even though his heel turn has been the biggest moment to date on the road to WrestleMania, John Cena has been off the road just as much as he's been on it. In the 12 TV events that have occurred since Cena's heel turn at Elimination Chamber, he's only appeared on 3 episodes of Raw, and following his latest appearance on March 31st, hadn't been scheduled to appear again into his WrestleMania match with Cody Rhodes. Fortunately, fans will not have to wait that long before they see Cena once again. On their official website, WWE has Cena set to appear on the April 18th episode of SmackDown, the go-home show for WrestleMania 41. At the moment, he is not listed for any other TV appearances beforehand, though it is possible he could be added to this Friday's SmackDown or next Monday's Raw. As with Cena's Raw appearances, one would expect Rhodes will factor into Cena's plans next Friday, only days before they collide for the undisputed WWE Championship. It's likely Cena will be looking for revenge, as his final Raw appearance saw him get laid out by a crossroads after he and Rhodes traded the most personal barbs yet in their rivalry. One notable figure still missing from the Cena-Rhodes program is The Rock, who was instrumental in convincing Cena to turn heel on Rhodes at Elimination Chamber, though the reason Cena did so remains a mystery. It may remain a mystery as well, as Rock is currently not scheduled to appear on Raw or SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania, and while he's expected to appear at the event, it's yet to be 100% confirmed. New inductees into this year's class of the WWE Hall of Fame have been confirmed as WrestleMania 41 approaches. Triple H, Michelle McCool, Lex Luger, and the Natural Disasters have already been announced as inductees into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2025. Now, just over a week away from the ceremony, WWE has revealed 3 more names that will be inducted this year. On Wednesday, WWE announced that Kamala, Dory Funk Sr., and Ivan Koloff will enter the Hall of Fame as 2025 Legacy inductees. The addition of all 3 legends now brings the number of names to be inducted this year to 8, with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin's storied WrestleMania 13 bout set to be the first match admitted into the Hall of Fame. Now, Kamala is often remembered for his iconic war paint and unique style in the ring, with some of his most memorable matches taking place against The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan through the late 80s and early 90s. Although once one of WWE's most feared villains, Kamala later showed fans the lovable side of himself, becoming the ultimate gentle giant. Funk Sr. revolutionized the wrestling industry in the 50s and 60s, having been one of the best amateur wrestlers in NWA and eventually cultivating the business as a promoter. The patriarch of the historic Funk family would lead the Western State Sports Organization in Amarillo, Texas, where he was responsible for growing talent such as Harley Race, Bruiser Brody, and his acclaimed sons Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk. Similarly to Kamala, Koloff became one of the most unforgettable villains in the history of professional wrestling. His mean demeanor and brute strength would lead him to several victorious bouts throughout his career, but none would be as monumental than dethroning WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino at Madison Square Garden in 1971, ending Sammartino's historic 7-year WWE Championship reign. Now, a match has been confirmed for next week's edition of AEW Dynamite, of course, the special spring breakthrough edition of the show. The show will see more Owen Hart Cup tournament action as Mercedes Moné will face either Harley Cameron or Athena in a tournament semi-final bout. Moné's opponent will be determined when Cameron and Athena face off on the April 12th edition of AEW Collision. This will be Moné's first match since defeating Julia Hart in a tournament quarterfinal match at AEW Dynasty. Speaking of that episode of AEW Collision this coming Saturday, first, Owen Hart Cup tournament action will continue as Athena will face Harley Cameron in a tournament quarterfinal match. On the other side of the bracket, Jamie Hayter will take on Billy Starks in a separate tournament quarterfinal match. Also, in the men's edition of the tournament, Brody King would take on Konosuke Takeshita in a quarter-final bout. In addition to that, Anthony Bowens would take on Blake Christian. Furthermore, fans get the chance to hear from FTR following their decision to attack Cope at AEW Dynasty. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. We're now at over 20,600 subscribers. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and keep expanding that Wrestle News universe. A reminder, you can join the WN365 roster. All you have to do is click the join button. The link's also in the video description below. You can also scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. In addition to that, whilst you're looking at the sidebar, you can see all upcoming watch-alongs that we've got coming up, whether it be Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania, Raws, and SmackDowns. All of the details, all the times are there, so be sure to join us when we go live on the YouTube channel. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.